Hey everybody, we hope you're doing well. We're going to continue to journey through Matthew. And today's passage is really interesting because I think it brings up two big points. One of them has to do with where you're from, your tribe, your people, your family. And I think more your immediate family, not necessarily your group of friends, not necessarily the people you hang out with or the people you work with or the people you connect to and worship with, but more your home, right? Your family. Secondly, just how oftentimes it is much easier to go through religious practices, right? Religious motions than is actually exercise faith. That's one of the things I wrestle with all the time is what the things that I am doing, are those things that require faith or not? Because if it's not, if it doesn't require faith, then I'm not going to be growing with God. And also I'm not going to be pleasing God, because we know from Hebrews that faith pleases God. So let me read for us a passage out of Matthew chapter 9. It says this: Jesus stepped into a boat, he crossed over, and he came to his hometown. So keep that in mind. That's the context where all of this is happening. Some men brought to him a paralyzed man laying on a mat. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man, "Take heart, son, your sins are forgiven." At this, some of the teachers of the law said to themselves, "This fellow's blaspheming." Knowing their thoughts, Jesus said this: "Why do you entertain evil thoughts in your hearts? Which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or 'Get up and walk'? But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." So he said to the paralyzed man, "Get up, take your mat, go home and walk." The man went home. And then when the crowd saw this, they were filled with awe. They praised God who had given such authority to men. So we know in other passages that when Jesus was in his hometown, he wasn't often accepted. He wasn't able to do as many things. There's something about, right? There's something about your home or your people or your family that just makes it hard for as much to happen spiritually in that context. I don't know what it is. But what I'd encourage us to do is, if things aren't happening or we have family who is in great need spiritually, is not to forget the power of prayer, of God using other people and other situations in their lives. Now, in this context, we see a miracle happen. But we see Jesus not just heal somebody, but heal somebody with a point, right? To help people understand that Jesus has the authority to forgive sins, because there was two issues, right, involved. If you've seen this passage or read parallel passages, the bigger issue is the man's need for forgiveness, his spiritual healing. The second aspect of this story is the physical healing that needs to happen. And initially what we see the most on the surface level is the need for the physical healing. But if we understand the condition of a human soul, we know that far more important is the spiritual healing that goes on. And so Jesus says, just so you know, I have power to do both. Let me show you the one that is harder to visibly see in this moment. Let me show you the one that would take the most faith, because you would see it or you wouldn't. And then you would know if Jesus had power or not. And he said, "Get up and walk." And the man got up and walked and he went home. So in that context, if it was me, right, if we were in that situation and we could say, "Your sins are forgiven," there would be no way to tell if they actually were forgiven or not. That in some ways, that wouldn't take as much faith, because it'd be easy to just say it, but not easy necessarily to know if it happened or not. But the flip side is, if we said, "Get up and walk," that would be very clear if it worked or not. That would take a lot of faith, because in that moment, you would be putting it all on the line, and that person would either get up and walk or they wouldn't. And it would be very clear cut. Did it work or did it not? Is what you said have power or does it not? Did your prayer get answered or did it not? And so Jesus, wanting them to understand both, did the one that took more faith. And in our lives, that has to become a guiding principle. That when we are faced with decisions, when we are faced with choices, there will usually be one or a multitude of decisions that take more faith, and there will be other decisions that will not take as much faith. And if you don't know what to do in that moment, I encourage you and I urge you to remember this one thing. If you don't know what to do what takes more faith. Because we know that faith pleases God, and we know that faith grows us. In this moment, Jesus helped us see that the thing that usually is most powerful visibly is a person making choices and actions based on their faith. So I hope that as we remember, Jesus is forgiving this paralyzed man as well as healing them. There's multiple messages that are going on, but one I hope we can take with us is to make choices in life that take more faith. God bless.